Nothing, because I didn't know about him, obviously, growing up in colonialism. I learned about Marcus Garvey when I went to America. I didn't know about him. And as my parents were just ordinary people, farmers, working class people, they didn't know about Marcus Garvey. They knew of the name, but they didn't know of his great feats. And so for me, as I said, when I went to America, I learned about this great Pan-African man. He was the first man that tried to organize the diaspora and tell us that we needed to return home. He even organized ships to bring us home back to Africa. And he was an example way back in the early part of last century of the elegance of the Black man, how he could be presented as not just as a Jamaican, but as a statesperson representing an entire race of people that had no home. Because if you think we are 40 million throughout the diaspora, 40, and we have nothing that we can call a home. Can you imagine if we gave those 40 million people a piece of land and say, this is your home, like what happened when they created Israel, okay, for the Israelis, because they didn't have a home. So if we did the same thing for us as Africans, imagine what that could be. And that's what Marcus Garvey was trying to do. But unfortunately, he was scuttled by his own people, betrayed, thrown into prison and deported. So that's another thing that we need to face. We need to stop betraying one another. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. How did the Europeans get a foothold in Africa? It was because we were betrayed by our own kind. And who did the enslaving Arabs and Europeans take? They didn't just come for anybody. And how do I know this? This is told to me by a historical anthropologist, Nigerian, here in Italy. I see, if I remember, I still have chills. He said that the newcomers, because we had come out running away from Egypt, how could they know us different from our brothers and sisters in other parts of Africa? Because we were all black skinned, even if they're trying to paint Egypt or Kemet white, it's not, and it was never. So he told me we were identified by our hands because we were the artisans. We were from the royal clans. We were the blacksmiths. We were the ones that created, art. And so we were the ones that built the pyramids as well. And by the way, pyramids just aren't in Egypt. They're all over Africa. Do your research. So what they did was they came looking for these types because they had to build up the West. Imagine it takes thousands of years, at least 1,000, to build an empire. How can you build an empire in 400 years unless you had artisans doing it? Where did those artisans come from? Africa. They were not the uneducated Africans that the history books and the lying enslavers and colonizers lead us to believe. They were the artisans. They were your leaders that were enslaved and taken away. Yeah. Not just to tell the story, but to tell the truth and to tell it from the African perspective. Because so far, what we have heard is the conquerors' perspective. But as you Africans say, until the lion tells his own story and not the hunter, People will always believe the hunter.
So how did it start with you with your educational career?
Okay. As I said, that my parents were just simple people. My father never had the opportunity to go to school, and my mother maybe had, second grade education. She read, but very, very badly. And so they didn't have the opportunities that we have. And how did I learn to read? I remember going to school and sitting on a carpet and listening to my teacher read from a book. And I was just fascinated by the relationship of her talking and turning pages. And so as I learned to read and read for myself, then I became the eyes and ears of my father, who was illiterate. So I would have to read from a very early age and write letters for him for a very early age, and just be the point of communication. And so I did not come from academia, but I always remembered watching my teachers, and they were my role models because I didn't have any others. And so as teachers, we don't realize how important our role is, because you never know what what that child's background is, where they're coming from, and what their reality is. And so that was how I began. And then I just enjoyed reading. And so after I got married, again, not coming from academia, I realized that I was really bored. So I began to do one or two lessons at university, at college at first. And then I got my 2-year degree, and that was a great triumph. After my high school diploma and so forth, of course. And then I went and got my 4-year degree in literature and language. And then I came to Italy, and because I had a degree in literature and language, I started working right away as a teacher. And so then I went and got my teaching certificate to teach English as a second language to foreigners. And then I entered the university system. And from there, what did I do? I went and got another certificate, so forth, some qualification to teach legal English. And I also wrote a 500-page book to accompany that course. And I was the first to teach legal English to the judges and lawyers and legal people here in Abruzzo, where I live. I was the one that brought that here. And then once I finished my book, I thought, okay, I'll go back and get another degree. And so I got a degree in music, and I'm an opera singer. I graduated in 2017. But as I said, I prefer to sing the music that our ancestors created.